The sound of a mop swishing against marble echoed in the grand corporate lobby as the city outside drowned in rain. He was a janitor. Worn sneakers, old uniform, and eyes carrying the weight of sleepless nights. His name was Daniel Keller, a single father. A man life had crushed, yet he still bent but never broke. He had a daughter to raise, and her dreams mattered more than his hunger or dignity. But on that stormy evening, as Daniel wiped the floor of a billion-dollar empire's tower, a voice cut through the silence, sharp, cold, dismissive. A woman in diamonds and silk heels, her words spoken in German, her laughter slicing deeper than the rain outside. What she didn't know was that this humble janitor understood every word, and when he finally replied, his voice calm, steady, and fluent, her world shattered. If this story touches your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Universe, because every story here reminds us that true worth has nothing to do with wealth or power. The story Daniel Keller's story was not one of choice but of survival. Once upon a time, he had been a literature teacher in Berlin. His life had color, purpose, and books lined the walls of his small apartment. But life is ruthless, and tragedy struck when his wife Anna fell ill. The hospital bills devoured their savings, and when she passed away, Daniel was left with their 5-year-old daughter, Sophie, and nothing else. He tried to keep teaching, but grief and responsibility weighed him down. Teaching paid little, debts mounted, and soon he was forced to leave his passion behind. He took on night shifts, cleaning offices and skyscrapers, his hands raw with detergent just to keep Sophie clothed and fed. Still, he told himself one thing: Sophie will not suffer. She will dream, and I will carry those dreams for her. Years passed. Sophie grew into a bright, curious child. At 10, she loved sketching dresses and whispered her dream, "Papa, one day I'll design clothes for queens." Daniel would smile, hiding his tears, and whisper back, "And you will, my little star, you will." One evening, Daniel found himself cleaning the headquarters of Lena von Hohenberg, Germany's youngest female billionaire. Known for her icy beauty and razor-sharp business empire, Lena ruled the fashion world with an iron grip. Cameras adored her, newspapers praised her brilliance, and competitors feared her ruthlessness. But Daniel, mopping the grand marble lobby under the shimmering chandeliers, knew none of that mattered. To him, she was just another person walking past. That night, however, fate had other plans. The storm outside roared as Lena entered the building, her heels clicking against the floor like a metronome of power. 2 assistants trailed behind her, arms full of designer files. She noticed Daniel instantly, crouched near the revolving doors, wringing dirty water from his mop. Her gaze narrowed. In German, she muttered under her breath, just loud enough for her assistants to hear, "Look at him, scrubbing floors like a dog. And yet, this building pays him from the empire I built." Pathetic. Her assistants laughed politely. She smirked, tossing her words like daggers. But Daniel, he froze, because unlike the others, he understood her. Every syllable, every insult. For a moment, he wanted to remain silent as he had for years, to swallow the humiliation, to let his dignity bleed quietly. But then, he thought of Sophie, of her dreams, of the nights she asked, "Papa, do people look down on you because you clean?" He remembered answering gently, "Work is never shameful, Sophie, never." And now, faced with this billionaire's cruel words, he realized silence would betray that lesson. He stood up slowly, mop in hand, his tired eyes locking with hers, and in flawless German he replied, "You mock me for cleaning floors. But remember this, when the marble beneath your feet shines, it is because of hands like mine. Without people like us, your empire would crumble under its own dust." The assistant's laughter died instantly. The grand lobby fell silent, except for the storm hammering the glass. Lena blinked, her perfect smile faltered. She had expected him to lower his gaze, to remain invisible. But instead, this janitor, this single father in ragged shoes, had spoken with a dignity she couldn't purchase with all her wealth. For the first time in years, she was speechless. That night haunted her. She sat in her penthouse, glass of wine untouched, replaying his words. They shouldn't have mattered. She had mocked thousands before, competitors, employees, anyone who stood in her way. But his reply carried truth, a weight she couldn't ignore. She researched him the next day, quietly. Through a manager's files, she discovered his name: Daniel Keller, age 42, widowed, single father, employed as a janitor for 3 years. And then she saw a note: daughter Sophie Keller, 10 years old, interests fashion design. Her heart stilled. A week later, Daniel returned home from work to find Sophie glowing. She held up a letter, her hands trembling. "Papa, look, it's from von Hohenberg Fashion." Inside, the letter invited Sophie to a mentorship program for young designers. It was signed personally by Lena von Hohenberg herself. Daniel stared at it, stunned. Why? After mocking him, why this? Sophie begged him, "Papa, please let me try." Daniel, though wary, saw the sparkle in her eyes and couldn't deny her. The program began. Sophie, nervous but eager, entered the world of fashion under Lena's guidance. And to Daniel's shock, Lena treated her with kindness. She praised Sophie's sketches, gave her fabric samples, and even promised to showcase her designs in a small exhibition. But Daniel never forgot that night. He kept his distance, always polite, but his eyes held quiet caution. One evening after Sophie left the studio, Lena approached Daniel, her voice softer than he'd ever heard. "I owe you an apology." Daniel said nothing. She continued, "I built my empire believing weakness had no place in this world. But when you answered me that night, you reminded me what strength truly is. Not wealth, not power, but dignity." Her eyes glistened. For once, the billionaire mask cracked. "I mocked you, but your words changed me." Daniel's silence lingered, then he replied, "Dignity doesn't belong to the rich or the poor. It belongs to those who live with honesty. Remember that." Weeks passed, and the exhibition arrived. Sophie's design, a simple but breathtaking dress inspired by the stars she used to watch with her father, was displayed under glowing lights. Industry giants applauded. Critics whispered. And for the first time, Sophie's dream touched reality. Lena stood beside her, clapping with genuine pride. Daniel watched from the crowd, tears slipping down his cheeks. In that moment he realized, sometimes even cruelty can lead to kindness if hearts choose to change. If you felt the power of dignity, forgiveness, and kindness in this story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Universe. Together, we spread stories that remind the world what truly matters. Ending message: that night, as the exhibition lights dimmed, Daniel walked hand in hand with Sophie. She was smiling, dreaming bigger than ever. And though he still wore the same old janitor's shoes, he walked taller. Because he knew his reply had not only defended his own dignity, but had changed the heart of a billionaire, and perhaps the future of his daughter. Because in the end, it's never about riches or titles. It's about the courage to speak the truth, the strength to hold on to dignity, and the kindness to change before it's too late. And that, dear friends, is the legacy worth leaving behind.